say on the front end, I had people say this to me, that I'm one of those bleeding heart people, I'm trying to get people out of jail. That's way, way wrong. I'm a believer in you do the crime, you do the time. We just like to do time in another jail somewhere, not ours. So that's what we're here talking about. I'm going to pass my stuff out right here right quick. I'm sure I don't have enough for everybody, front and back. And this will be very brief, and then you all can tell us what, if anything at all, we can do about any of it. Dave, pass it on down the rail. How many more need you have to do? Two more? I've got a couple more, but what? The information that I have to go on, that we have to go on, is what's on the TDOC website. And that's the little one day snapshot that they post each month, and that's all I've got to go on. So what I have right here is the whole list off the TDOC website, and it's the categories of, I kind of changed the names a little, but it's waiting to go to prison, felons serving time in our jail, other felons, federal and others, convicted misdemeanors, felons waiting to go to court, misdemeanors waiting to go to court, and then the total inmate count. And I've also included all the 9th Judicial District, all 4 counties, the population of each county, and here on the far end, it's got the bed space in each of the jails. And that's just comparison on our part. But on the back side is a 10-year notice of felons waiting to go to court. And this may make sense to everybody else, but I've had to learn all this. We have General Sessions Court where misdemeanors go, and correct me if I get any of this wrong, felon court is criminal court, and that's where the really bad guys have to go. So 60% of our jail population is made up of people waiting to go to court. Not to jail, but to court. So the trend from 2009 to 2019, and again, this is a TDOC website, one-day snapshot, that's all I've got to go on. In 2009, felons waiting to go to court was 26. In 2019, and that was in July, it was 95. The trend is definitely up, and we all know we have more crime. Well, the county has taken some pretty huge steps to mitigate our part of it. We're building a $17.5 million jail. We just added $1.6 million to our jail operating budget, bringing it to like nearly $4.5 million for our jail. So we're doing all we can to stay on top of it and to follow it. The trend that's breaking us down are the people waiting to go to felony court, to big court, and even a little bit smaller, Mr. Sledge, the people waiting to go to General Sessions Court. Well, I don't know, and I don't know if anybody else here does, is there anything we can do as a county commission to try to address this trend of people sitting in court, sitting in jail waiting to go to court? My assumption is they're there because they either don't have a bond or a bail, or they can't make a bond or a bail, or if they do make it, they run off and you got to go get it again. This is the stuff I hope to hear from you all. The criminal judge, under the state regulations and the way it's controlled, the criminal judge in Loudon County 3 times a year, is that correct, if I read on your website right? Yes. So he's here 3 times a year. Well, I mean, he's one man. He can only see and hear so many cases when he gets here. Do we fuss at the legislatures and say, you got to do something about our judges. We got to have more judges. Do we say to the state of Tennessee, okay, if we're going to house these people for you all, because they don't want them, I mean, their prisons are full, then you need to give us some money or something. Is there any answer for us as a little bitty county that we can do something to address from General Sessions and criminal court the number of people waiting to go to court? And we're all on your team. We're not picking at nobody. We're not picking at the judges or the Russell Johnson. I think everybody's doing a great job with it. But the backlog seems to be getting them through the court system adjudicated, and either get them in a misdemeanor situation, or if they're felons, get them to the state of Tennessee, or let the state of Tennessee help with judges or compensate the local jurisdictions. And this is just not Loudon County. You can see on the 9th Judicial, we all have the problem, and I'm sure it's across the state, probably across the country. Our question is, what can we do from our position, if anything, to help the situation.
Okay. Let's go, judges. Okay. First thing you're going to have to do is get us a courtroom and a courthouse so we can have jury trials in.
We're trying.
So
We're trying.
Fair request.
we'll talk about that. These are our color-coded criminal court charts, and Judge, jump in at any time. These are from past years, but it's basically the same. Judge Wicks truly rides the circuit between 4 counties. And when he's not here in Loudon County, either Mike Pemberton in circuit court or Frank Williams, the chancellor, is generally here. Loudon is yellow, so generally speaking, January, May, and September is when we're here in Loudon County. You'll see there's far more yellow and far more blue on these charts than anything else. Blue is Rome. The smallest county is going to be Meigs as far as pink, and Morgan as far as green. But it's such a complicated schedule, you know, we have to make a color-coded chart basically for our office to keep up with it. Same thing happens with Judge Sledge and Judge Dale in General Sessions Court. For my office and in the Public Defender's office, we're in court 5 days a week somewhere, and on Thursdays, Mondays, we're in multiple courts as far as General Sessions Court. We're always in criminal court 5 days a week in one of those 4 counties unless somebody's at a conference or whatever. But this gives you a general idea. These are, we can't make any more days here in Loudon County. Adding a judge isn't going to happen because in our district, the 9th district, according to the weighted caseload study, we're 0.3 judges over. We have 0.3, we have a third of a judge too many.
And who did that study?
The
State of Tennessee?
Administrative Office of the Courts. That's not Judge Wicks. Judge Wicks far and away has the balance of the cases. I think Chancery Court, correct me if I'm wrong, 400 and some cases in the district.
Circuit Court 400, Chancery 900, and Criminal Court 36.
Okay, so you can see the problems on the civil side if there's a problem, not necessarily the criminal side. But the way our district is designed and most other multi-county districts are designed, you know, this is how it operates. So I'll pass these around. Like I say, they're not exactly this year, but they give you an idea of where our days are when we're here. So we're getting ready to come to Loudon for the Loudon criminal term of court starting in September. We had grand jury last Monday, and we did arraignments in criminal court today down at the old city hall. Our grand jury meetings, we changed up the schedule this year. It used to be we went to each county 3 times a year. Every quarter we would be in Loudon, Roane, Morgan, and Meigs. Because Roane and Loudon have so many cases, we went to the judge and said, hey, can we take a grand jury date away from Morgan County and one away from Meigs County? Give one. We gave the July Meigs County grand jury date to Roane County, and we gave the Morgan County May grand jury date to Loudon. So in Loudon we had grand jury in April. We followed it up with another grand jury in May, and that's when we did all the drug cases and had the drug roundup. We were just there in August. We'll be back in December and follow the same schedule. So, you know, we're keeping cases moving through the system. We have a courtroom that we can deal with folks that are there for non-jury matters. We did the arraignment docket this morning, and then Judge handled the non-jury docket in the afternoon, and starting at 1 o'clock, and had 50-some people on that docket. If I may borrow somebody's, the papers I passed out right here. This right here. Okay. This right here is our September-October term of court docket for Loudon County in criminal court. As you'll see, we have Loudon County non-jury. You don't see a lot of names there, but they'll publish a separate docket anywhere. If it's midweek, usually 20 or 30 some cases, but it's not unusual on a Monday or Friday non-jury day to have 80 or 100 cases. These are motion cases, status cases, plea or assignment, pleas by information, guilty pleas, and motion hearings on these non-jury days. And then we've got jury trials set starting with this assault case on September 5th. It lists the court number, the defendant's name, the number in parentheses, Nichols there, Brian Nichols, that's the attorney. It's an assault case. The affiant, that's the prosecuting officer. Jeff Russell's the prosecutor on this one, and the initials WJB are for William Jed Bassett, who's the assistant in my office handling it. If you flip over, second page, Tuesday, September 10th, Robbie Covington, that's a 3 counts of murder. That's a 3 co-defendant murder case, but it's been severed. So instead of one trial for one incident, we're going to have 3 separate murder trials with all 3 co-defendants. And then we've got other cases set, sometimes just one case, sometimes several cases deep. Say we were able to get Robbie Covington to actually go to trial, that's probably going to take 2 or 3 days, so that knocks out everything else. So it's not like we're getting these cases resolved every day. Hopefully we're getting them pled and moved along. We have, with Judge Wicks coming on as judge, it's amazing how fast our docket has moved, how much we've cleared it up in so many counties. We've got less than 100 people left on the bound over docket right now, and most of those are people waiting for the next drug grand jury and a lot of the DUI cases. I think there's probably 30 or so cases that are not related to drugs or DUI that are on there. We've got our most serious cases moving. We'll talk about that in a minute as far as how we're going to need a courtroom and issues there. Or go ahead and talk about it now and tell them, what we're doing as far as meeting with the Attorney General's office. Been talking to Bob Bowman, trying to get those people together with Judge Wicks to get an AG's opinion and what the legal hurdles are there for us going forward, holding an actual criminal trial in Loudon County right now.
Well, the problem with the space we have now, it's great for non-jury days.
Are you referring to what our temporary site is?
Temporary site now over off Almond Street.
Right.
I mean, it's good for non-jury days. We can crowd some people in there. We can stagger the times that they come in, because it'll probably seat 20 people maybe, something like that. We can run a lot of non-jury items through there. Motions are Mondays and Fridays. Our problem is when we have jury trial, it's not big enough. We don't have anywhere to put the jury. Everybody's on top of each other. So Loudon County, Loudon City was gracious enough to allow us to use the new city hall out off of 72 across from the Food City to hold jury trials. You can hold a jury trial there as long as the defendant is not in custody. And the problem is, when a defendant is in custody, they cannot be seen in the prison garb, the jail outfit, shackles, handcuffs, any of that. And so we would have a very difficult time trying to get them in and out of the building without the jury seeing them. If the jury sees them in handcuffs or shackles, that's grounds for an automatic mistrial, and you'd have to come back and try them again. There are no holding cells or holding rooms in that building. Our first case coming up, we got a murder trial set for September the 10th. We cannot have that. There's nowhere to put someone that's on trial for murder. You would have to take them, other than being in the courtroom, they would have to go back in the back where all the workers are for work for the city of Loudon. And there's no room even to put them in. There's not even an empty office to put them in. All the space is utilized. So we've got that issue. And so we've been kind of looking around and see if we can get...
Talk about the jury deliberation room also.
Now, the jury deliberation room is a nice room, big conference room that's got glass windows, ceiling to the floor all the way. So we've got some pretty bad murder cases coming up, especially in January. We've got 3 defendants on trial for murder, and they're all gang related, Crips and the Bloods. So you got to be worried about security and somebody coming by and trying to shoot up the courthouse. We don't want anybody on a jury shot because there's glass windows.
And then you can't see you're not allowed to walk by and see the jury deliberating. That's the big thing. They have to have a private space. And then, the deal with the jury seeing the defendant in shackles, we're operating under the theory that the defendant's innocent until proven guilty, and it's prejudicial for them to see him in custody or her in custody as an inmate, that might have an influence on their decision as a jury to realize they've been arrested and they're sitting in jail. That's a constitutional issue for defendants' rights. During
our temporary downtime, can our cases, these big bad ones like this, can't they be handled in Loudon County?
That's what I was getting at. The one on September the 10th, we got the defendant to waive his right to have his trial here in Loudon County, because the defendant in Tennessee, under our Constitution, has the right to have their case tried where the crime occurred. And if the crime occurred in Loudon County, they're entitled by our Constitution to have the jury trial here in Loudon County with a Loudon County jury. So what we're gonna do on this one is pick a Loudon County jury, because I already have them impaneled. And once we get them picked, then move the case over to Roane County and try it in their courtroom. But the defendant has to waive that right. If the defendant does not waive it, we cannot move it. And I'm afraid it might get out in the defense community. They may cooperate now, but then later they may stop.
And so we're trying to pass broadcasts.
So what we are looking at now is an alternative site in Loudon County.
And the sheriff is gonna have to transport the jury back and forth in a bus and responsible for that. And, you know, you're still gonna have to feed them over there. We've had some discussions about who pays for that expense, clerk's office, AOC, the administrative office of the courts. But just, you know, a lot of issues that make it difficult, problematic to have a criminal jury trial here in Loudon County at this point.
Well, everybody knows we're doing all we can in our power to get back to where we can do business. So we're physically doing everything we can to get back and better than where we were.
Sure, and we're just informing you all and the public, so the public will know, well, why is the criminal court docket being backlogged? Why are we not having jury trials? Why are these murder cases now getting older? Because, you know, we can't, the issues we're talking about today.
Another issue is that the criminal courtroom, courthouse, has to be located in the county seat. It has to be inside Loudon, inside the city limits. And without a private act, we can't temporarily go, say, to Lenore City and try a case, if we had a building over there, without a private act. So, and it may be even an issue for trying to try one at the Justice Center. We went over there the other day and looked at it, and found a suitable jury room and a suitable, you know, we can move tables around here and there. We're working to try to work what we got, and, you know, we appreciate everything you all done. I mean, this looks, that's what it's gonna look like. It's gonna look great.
That's it, right there.
And that's gonna be a beautiful place. And one thing I'll address, I came on the bench in 2016 after Judge Evelyn retired at the end of 2015. And I see your felons waiting to go to court has increased over those years. One thing I've noticed in my short time on the bench is that my first couple of years, we used to see a lot of opioid cases. See the opioid crisis, a lot of Oxycontins, Oxycodones. Those things got so dadgum expensive, people started going to methamphetamine. Well, it's pouring across our southern border now. And it's so cheap that I had a probation officer tell me the other day that dealers are giving it away. To try to get you hooked on it, then you come to it. And by law, normally, if someone tested positive for an illegal substance, it would not necessarily be a violation of probation. But by state law, if you're test positive for methamphetamine, it's an automatic violation of probation. So our violations of probation and violations of community correction have skyrocketed. So that's a big number of the cases that are holding on today. I looked at our docket today. We're supposed to have, I think, 72 in jail. 35 of them are for violation of probation or violation of community correction. 15 of them were for selling methamphetamine. We had a couple sexual offenders on there, fifth offense DUIs. We're trying, I mean, believe me, I don't want anybody sitting in jail longer than they have to, but sometimes we have to leave some of them there, especially if they're put on probation, they've been convicted of a crime or they pled guilty to a felony. We give them the second chance. Here you go. Just go. You only have to meet once a month with your probation officer. Don't break any more laws. Don't do any drugs. Well, it doesn't work out very well. Then we'll bring them out, bring them in and say, okay, now we're going to put you on community corrections. That's the second step. That's how you meet once a week with those folks, and they drug test you. And then after that, I'll tell every one of them, if you violate your community corrections, that was your second chance, now you go to prison. And so that's what we do, and I don't know how many you've got over in the jail now. I know Roane County's got about 60 or 70 that are waiting, that's already been sentenced to go to prison, but the prison can't handle them because they don't have any room.
We have that category.
Yeah, they do it a little differently in Roane County. They're getting paid, and that's part of their budget. They keep a certain number of them there where they're getting paid by the state to house them.
They contract with
I
them.
know they contract them. It's up to the sheriff who they put on the bus when the bus comes around. You know, they've got to wait for the bus to come. And the bus, they'll say, hey, we've got 3 slots, the bus is coming next Thursday, and it's up to the sheriff to decide who he wants to put on. And I know specifically they try to keep the low-hanging fruit, if they can, so to speak, because they then remit, they always make a big deal of returning $1 million back over to the county this year with the money we made off of TDOC inmates. So it's a catch-22 kind of. Well, we're overcrowded because we got so many TDOC inmates waiting to go to prison that you're holding back. But we need to build a new jail because you've got so many TDOC prisoners that you're holding back.
Last year, I think we took in $180,000 on the TDOCs waiting to go to prison.
Yeah.
And that's been a point of contention we've discussed with the sheriff several times. In fact, the last meeting, he seemed to be a bit surprised there was that many there. TDOC pays us $37.50 a day, and it costs us about $65 a day to house prisoners. So it's certainly not a moneymaker for Loudon County. I mean, $180,000 sounds like a lot of money, but you take that $180,000, you do the math at $65 a day, and we're losing a lot of money on it. So the fellow I spoke to that's in charge of that once upon a time said, oh yeah, that's not a problem. If you'll just let us know, we'll come and get them immediately and put them in another local jail if y'all don't have room. And I pushed for that a little bit, but it just never did happen. So we've got that situation also. It's a smaller number. You can see it runs 12 to 16 to 19, that sort of stuff. But it's still beds. I mean, it's vacant beds. But
they're using Polk County as a processing center right now. That's, kind of the first place you go, either to Polk County to jail where they process you for TDOC, or they go directly to Bledsoe. That's the other big prison there. But this sheet is a one-day sample in time. It's Thursday of last week. So keep in mind we have General Sessions Court on Wednesday. We do all we can, and Judge Sledge has numbers about General Sessions Court for July. I don't know how many we processed or got out of jail on Thursday, but they generally bring us the list every morning. They'll bring us the inmate list of how many they brought up, and then we'll look at the overall jail list to find people whose court dates are not that day, that are coming up some other point, and Jake Keener or Corporal Martin will get with us and say, hey, is this somebody you can take up or get out of there? It depends on whether they have an attorney or not. If they have an attorney, whether they're there, if the public defender's attorney, they're there. And we try to work as well as we can. But on
in Sessions Court, one of the things, every Wednesday, we'll have anywhere from 25 to 50 inmates we bring up on that Wednesday. But when they're inmates coming to Sessions Court, once they are arraigned, once they've been arrested, they have to be arraigned and have a court date within 10 days. And so that first time they come to court within that 10 days, they may not have filled out their affidavit if they're asking for an appointed attorney, so they may get an attorney appointed that day. If it's the public defender's office, a lot of times, they've already got a docket full of cases they're looking at that day. So they're going to ask for a continuance, bump that case a week, so they get the paperwork and talk to their client, see what's going on.
But they're still in jail for whatever reason.
Yeah, unless they can bond, or sometimes we hear bond motions reduce the bond, OR them. And I'm not saying that's not the right thing to do. Sometimes it is, but just for the month of July this year, there was 190 arrests. 52 of those arrests were for failures to appear at General Sessions Court. So a quarter of your arrests for that month or for people who had gotten out and didn't show back up for court. Yeah. And so, I don't know what the best remedy for that is. We try to OR the people who aren't multiple offenders and have, low-rated misdemeanors.
And again, I can't speak about myself. I'm not looking to get people out of jail.
Right.
I'm looking to get them out of our jail and send them to state penitentiary.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at if you look at our jail population, convicted misdemeanor, that's who we're supposed to be holding in our jail. It's essentially a Mayberry jail, and we're going to keep our locals that do it. Those numbers are minuscule. I mean, if all we had was convicted misdemeanors, we could save $17.5 million by all means.
Well, in some of Judge Wicks's cases that have come up, they're not all felonies. If you get arrested in state Tennessee for dog running at large, which is a C misdemeanor, and you want a jury trial, you're entitled to a jury trial.
So requesting a jury trial is the criminal court.
Yes. Yeah.
Does that happen a lot?
Yes.
we got a dog running at large.
I saw that.
There's a lot of DUI cases that get bound over to criminal court, and a DUI is not a felony until it's a fourth offense. So there are a lot of misdemeanors that make it into criminal.
All of this
now, most of those people aren't held in jail. Most of those are being OR'd until they go to criminal court.
all this aside, the many issues we have, the bottom line for us, it's all obvious to all of us that we have a problem with jail population. And like I said, we're spending the money. The local taxpayers are reaching deep down in their pockets to try to address so we can hold more prisoners, is what it comes down to. Is there anything our local body, like I said, from Senator Nasty Graham to the state legislature, the governors, TDOC, to somebody, essentially the state of Tennessee knows it's cheaper to keep all these people out in the Everett County jail than it is to try to house them in state penitentiaries. I mean, they'll pay you a lot of money to keep their prisoners. We don't find that being beneficial in Loudon County. I think some counties, big generators, big budget generators to house, contract with TDOC to house prisoners. Doesn't work for Loudon County just because of a lot of different factors. Is there anything we can do to alleviate your problem? You're not the problem. You've got more than you can see to. If there was two of you, well, that would have to cut down half, except we do have two up there, but I'm not going to get into that.
You only have one courtroom, so two judges isn't going to help. We'd love to have another judge, I guess, but the state's not going to allow us to have another trial court judge. We only have two courtrooms to operate in at the justice hearing. We have two judges, and when Judge Sledge is in there handling the main docket, Judge Dale will come in and do some of the preliminary hearings sometimes.
And we have to operate that way because our second courtroom there
is the
operates as a holding cell.
Yeah, that's.
We got to hold all the inmates.
That's
Well, if everybody that came to court got adjudicated the first time they come to court,
We'd be fine.
you'd be fine. The legal system doesn't work that way.
Well, you'd be violating anybody's constitutional right to defense.
What does it take? Your all's really, the general sessions is not. When you look at the trend here, it's the criminal court. Not your fault, just the system we're in. Too many people, not enough judges. You said they're not going to give us, we don't have enough courtroom. Is there any way to get relief for criminal court? Can you get, what's the other judge that,
Judge Pemberton.
Pemberton, can he hear some criminal court
He does a
cases?
DUI docket for us. He handles the majority of our DUI cases. Of course, those are not, generally the people that are going to be in jail. But let's look at this a minute. The second page here, first page, either one, it tells you you've got 141 male inmates, 61 female inmates. As I've preached all along, especially with the opioid crisis, the biggest problem is the explosion of the female inmate population. That's where it hurts the worst in Loudon County. You're certified for 15, Jeff, is that right? 15, and you've got 61 female inmates in there. So to get immediate relief on your problem, if you could get some sort of program going for the females, and you go in there, most everyone, whether it's theft, a drug charge, a DUI charge, or domestic, it's going back to some addiction dependent, drug dependent related issue, and a lot of time with mental health issues, and a lot of times co-occurring. It's going to be both of them. So I would focus on the females if you're going to do something there. As far as you've got 17 of them with mental illness issues, 6 of them were sex offenders, 72 of them have holds from either the feds or ICE or other jurisdictions, other counties. So you've got a lot of those. You've got 80 with veteran service. We ran a veterans court, a vet-friendly court at one time. We didn't have all the resources we needed to get it certified. Only 3 of them were foreign-born. 3 were violent. 40 had already been sentenced. 162 had not been sentenced. But then you look over here, you've got 2 out of Chancery Court, 4 out of Circuit Court are there on contempt charges. I'm not exactly sure what those are. Some of them might be on child support holds for non-payment of child support. One thing we've done there, of course, the DA's office runs the child support enforcement program. Judge Sledge used to be the head attorney there at the child support enforcement office. And we've got a new magistrate, Jennifer Brady, starting January 1st. Judge Crass would let you stay in there until you made your purge of payment, no matter how long it is. If you owe $12,000 in arrears, that you're behind on your child support, they'll give you a $1,500 or $2,000 purge payment. You can purge payment to jail, you get your license back if you sign a payment plan. Judge Raby will not let you, we talked about this, say, look, let's hit 30 days, that's enough. If they haven't paid or not, let's let them go.
Who's Judge Raby?
She's the new child support magistrate that took over Judge Crass. But anyway, So you've got Abercrombie down here, Kayla, who was in there on a capias, meaning she had been arrested and she'd been in jail 65 days. She was let go today. Jimmy Arden, violation of community corrections. Bennett, violation of probation. Blevins, violation of probation. Courtney Brown, violation of community corrections. LaQuina Brown, she's in there on a murder charge. She's part of that gang murder charge. So Michael Chastain, violation of community corrections. James Clapman, murder. He's on the other murder out here at Sugar Land where there's 3 people. Flowers, violation of probation. Cole, violation of community corrections. Robbie Covington, murder, part of the Sugar Land murder. Brian Cox, violation of probation. Dunn, Edmonds, violation of probation. Edmondson, violation of probation. And then Enloe, felony aggravated assault. Godfrey, several counts of violation, sex offender registry. Those are the people that are in jail. I mean, are those the people you want out of jail? Would be what I would ask. Ask citizens. Even say the person that's had their house burglarized ends at that. You talk to them. They're probably not going to want that person out of jail, but that might be someone that's low on the totem pole. But these are people who have committed serious crimes. They're sex offenders. They're murderers, or they, like the judge said, they've graduated from, hey, we'll put you on unsupervised probation, to we'll put you on probation, to we'll put you on probation a little bit longer, to now you're on, community corrections, and your next stop is go to prison. So, that's what your jail population looks like right now. As far as what we can do differently is, you talk a lot about, well, what about OR bonds or bonds? These are people you don't want to OR, you don't want to let them out on their own recognizance. It's not hard to make a bond now. We've got, 14, 15 bonding companies operating in Loudon County. And it used to be a $10,000 bond. It would take you $1,000 plus the bond fee and the bond tax for $1,125 to get out of jail. It's not like that anymore. They're cutting each other's throats. All you have to pay is the bond fee and the bond tax, $125, $135 what it is to get out of jail on a $10,000 bond, a $15,000 bond. They'll sign you up on a promissory note. I don't know what kind of interest they're charging people, but they'll let you out. Okay, the problem with the strong bonding lobby and the bonding law is, as soon as you commit another crime and you hit the jail in Loudon, Monroe, or Guilford County, North Carolina, or wherever, the bondsman comes back into the judge and says, here, let me off. They've been picked up. I'm off the bond, so they're no longer out on bond. We've got to put a hold on them. We've got to get them back somehow, and it's up to us to go get them. The bondsman doesn't have to go get them if they land in jail somewhere else. They don't have to go to Florida and pick them up. They don't have to go to North Carolina. They don't have to go to Memphis. They don't even have to go next door to Monroe County. That's up to the sheriff's department. So I have to make decisions. We want to spend the money to go get this person, bring them back, and prosecute them on that. It's a problem with the bonding companies because used to be when we had one bonding company here in the county, everybody was paying 10%. They had legitimate skin in the game, and there was a reason for them or their family members as surety to have them show up to court. If they're signing a promissory note anymore, there's no incentive for the bondsman for them to really stay in the jurisdiction and stay out of trouble. If they get in trouble and get picked up, that's great. It's like a check cashing business for bonding companies now. That's the state of the law that we're having to deal with, and that's part of the problem here. So if somebody says, hey, they can't get out, they can't make bond, they're lying. I mean, it's not that hard to get out. The problem is, if they get out and they mess up, they're back in there again, then they're held without bond for a period of time, and at some point we say, okay, let's give them a bond, and the same bonding company will come along and make their bond again. Is that an accurate depiction of the bonding situation? You have anything to add to that, or help me explain that any better?
The 72 people with holes, is there not a way to push them on their way?
But you could OR them and send them to another jail, but then they're going to end up serving the sentence there, and you've got an open case that sits there for 6 months, a year, whatever, until they get finished serving their sentence over in that jail.
I'd rather them sitting over there versus sitting not.
Well, what our preference is if it's a misdemeanor violation of probation or a misdemeanor case and they got a holdout in another county, I'd rather hold them, set them one more week. If they're going to enter a plea then, get them done with my court, and then once they've entered their plea here, they can either serve their 30 days or their 6 months or whatever, and then they can go over there and take good care of their business, because otherwise we gotta chase them down to get them back to court. So
I'm gonna run back.
either way, you're gonna pay it. You can pay it now or you can pay it later, but you're gonna pay it.
I want to run it back around to the beginning, and it worries me to what the answer is, because obviously it sounds like there's not. is there nothing that can be done to alleviate the crowding in our jail from either general sessions or criminal court? This body just has a limited amount of authority, mostly none. Like I said, a strongly worded letter. The state of Tennessee is who sets all the regulations that we're all living under, from the bonding to the number of judges to how you hear and all that. Is there anything we can do to try to say to the state of Tennessee, you're going to have to do something? We've done our part. We're $17.5 million jail. We're $4.5 million jail budget. We're growing with the problem, but you all are going to have to step up and do something from your part. Either send us some money every month, or get your prison system in order, or something. Is there anything we can do?
Get rid of bonding companies.
Can we do that?
No, as a state legislator.
You would have to pass legislation to get rid of bonding companies and set up pretrial, probation, and bonding through the counties. For the money that they pay for the bonds, instead of going to the bonding company, it comes to the county. Have a person who's basically a probation officer that is evaluating each person as they come in. And, where they can access the TBI background check records, find out their criminal history, find out if they're dangerous, find out how many FTAs they've had in other places, and can make a recommendation to the judge, magistrate, or county commissioner, or if they're allowed to set the bond themselves, to let the magistrates do this, they set their bond amount. Instead of paying, whatever the bond amount is to the bonding company, pay it to the county. If they fail to appear, that money is forfeited and goes to the county to pay on their fines and court costs. And it's a win-win for the counties, but you'll never get it passed because you'll see a lot of legislators say, well, I really don't like bonding companies, it's a nasty business and all, but I like my bondsman because they'll give me $500 or $1,000 or $1,500 at my fundraiser, and he's my friend, and I don't want him hurt.
Well, that's a conversation you're saying we can't do it anyhow, so that was kind of off the table.
Yeah, you can.
Well, there's a way around it, just like we did,
There's
we did
enough
before,
county-
everything with things like that.
Mike Harrison, the executive director of the County Mayor's Association, he's been in on these meetings. There's several of us that have been meeting. I'm the point person for this issue from the DA's conference, and tried to talk to the clerks conference. The clerks are like, I don't know if I want to get involved with this, Steve, because and I had this conversation with Steve, but that means, how am I going to get those extra people and those extra salaries from the county commission if I'm going to be responsible for that? I think they're good with it from the standpoint of it's going to increase their percentage of cost collections, but it is or put it under the county mayor. In Anderson County, they run a pretrial probation service under the county mayor, and in fact, the lady that runs it is the mother to my DUI prosecutor, and Terry Frank has had good results with it over there. It doesn't deal with the bonding company aspect, but they seem to have good results. And I don't know, is that just in general sessions court to do that, or is that in criminal and general sessions in Anderson County? Do you know, Judge?
I don't know.
I know the sessions, I don't know if they're in criminal court.
Well, but again, it doesn't get them adjudicated, it just gets them out of the jail.
It helps with your jail overcrowding problem, I would think.
Well, that's our whole nut right there.
And I know Ron Woody has looked at it and likes it, but he doesn't want the responsibility for it. So that would be.
Is Kenny Andrews still on the judiciary, or is there someone we have
No.
around us in your district that is?
Not on the judiciary, no. Mike Pale would be the closest, is on the Senate judiciary. But it's a touchy issue on the bonding. The defense attorneys, the public defenders, because part of the process would be, the public defenders get, $12.50 off of every case. The Indigent Defense Fund gets so much off of every case, and so the idea is, if this is increasing court cost collections, and therefore we're making more money for our coffers for public defenders and indigent defense, the defense bar is on board with it. They see all the misconduct and the ethical and moral issues with bonding companies, with people that can afford to get out and have a connection with the bonding company, get out, get some poor schmuck sitting in there that doesn't, is homeless or whatever, and they stay in jail forever, and they cost the county money, and they really don't need to be in there that long. So there's a lot of inequity in the system from the bonding company standpoint, but there are so many bonding companies out there right now for people to say, really, I can't get out of jail, they just don't want to get out of jail.
Can the county limit the business licenses given to bonding companies?
I'm sorry?
Can the county limit the business licenses given out to bonding companies?
No, the judge is in charge of that. When this started, Cumberland Bonding Company, who is one of these companies that came in and started undercutting everybody, you know, I told the judge, you know, we're good. Judge Evelyn said we're good. We've got enough bonding companies. We had City Bonding Company covering Roan and Morgan, Cheney Bonding Company covering Loudon and Meigs, and they would work conflict cases for each other, so to speak. And then there was a third bonding company, and we said we're good on bonding companies. We don't need another one. That went along for 2 years. Finally, the Court of Criminal Appeals says the judge doesn't have the authority. If they qualify, otherwise qualify, you can't keep them out. That opened the floodgates because the ninth district was kind of an island unto itself at that point. It was like a closed shop on bonding companies with Judge Evelyn, but you know, they're.
That's about when he retired, wasn't it?
He retired not long after that. You remember the timing on it? It's probably 2 or 3 years after that happened.
Right, it was at the end of 2015.
Is when he retired, and I can't remember when was the Cumberland bonding case in 13, I think, maybe.
13 or 14.
And do you want to add? I know I've talked, you've heard me rant and rave about it, and Judge Sledge has too. We've got a good system in Steve Harrelson's office dealing with it, with the bond forfeitures in Loudon County, and so good that Robin Shannon, his deputy clerk, has gone to train Roan County and Morgan County to try to get them on the same page. But in General Sessions Court, as soon as there's an FTA, the SIFA is issued to the bonding company and the defendant. They've got 90 days to come in and what. Because it's so hard to forfeit a bond on a bonding company, you have forfeit it, you get $2,000 or $3,000 down the road. It takes forever. We've had some bonding companies, like Tennessee Bonding Companies is in default in Roan County, Loudon County, Morgan County. Judge Dale has him suspended in Loudon County right now. Judge Humphrey's about to suspend him in Roan County. Judge Davis suspended them briefly in Morgan until they pay. But what we're doing, if within that 90-day period, they want to pay $350 to get off the bond, they're doing that. So they're hitting all kinds of licks on $350 on these FDAs, and you know, saying, look, I'm not going to fight you on it if you pay $350, and that goes straight to your all's general fund. So that's making money. That's getting far more money out of the bonding companies than you would, and taking far less court time. It's down to a smooth operation. So if it's a misdemeanor and it's not a sex offense case or not a DUI case, you know, and somebody might have 4 misdemeanors. Well, on one case, well, they're paying 4 times $350. So I don't know if you have off the top of the head how much you're collecting a month now, or how much you've collected on that. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I know that's working really well, and Roan County and Morgan County are about to adopt it.
Once the new courthouse annex is done, will there be an opportunity there to try to ask for another judge or be able to alleviate the overcrowding at that point? Is that?
We're not going to get another trial judge anytime soon because of our case.
And we said we were .3 over in judge.
Right. Yeah, in East Tennessee, in the East Tennessee Grand Division, we're the district that's most over. Now, the threshold for the AOC to either take away a judge or add a judge is when you're at 1.0. It used to be 0.8, but right now it's point.
What do you reckon they base their numbers
Well,
on?
the truth of the matter is we probably are not over. It's based on a case count, and so
I'm not talking about sessions judges, we're talking about trial judges.
Chancery and Circuit Court have divorce and probate jurisdiction. But so does General Sessions Court because of a private act. And so if you've got to wait 3 months because the judges are only here 3 times a year before you can take your case to court, Chancery or Circuit, you're going to file it in Sessions, or you can get to court quicker. So a lot of the cases that Chancery and Circuit would be hearing, Sessions hears. Well, I mean, we devote 2 days to a divorce docket.
But them people's not in jail.
Name jail.
But they're taking time away from people that are in jail.
But that's affecting our caseload
What you're
numbers, I
saying.
guess is what he's saying, and it's different in each district. I'm on the redistricting task force. We had a meeting today. We dealt with West Tennessee, but we had our meeting in East Tennessee at Rome State, May 20th. The judge came and talked about it, and we've talked about this. Years ago, Judge Evelyn and Don McMurray, when he was circuit court judge, late 80s, early 90s, I guess, they had, at their level, domestic jurisdiction, and they got private acts passed in all 4 counties of the 9th district. Put that all essentially back on the General Sessions judges. Didn't take it away from them, like Hank said, but they, now divorces are done in General Sessions Court for the very reason he said. You know, if you're getting divorced in Loudon and the chancellor's up in Morgan, you're not going to run up there. And their docket is just, works the way this docket does, and only comes around once every 4 months. So it's difficult to do anything with. Nobody files divorces there. If they were doing all the divorces, or 75% or even half of the divorces that Judge Dale and Judge Sledge and the other general sessions judges were doing, we would probably be far under judge. Another thing that's happened when Governor Bredesen, his administration, they changed the workers' comp system and made it basically an administrative system. They took it out of the court's hands. Chancery Court, a lot of what they did, the chancellors did, were the workers' comp cases. Now, unless there's just some old cases working their way through the system, workers' comp doesn't go before a judge, lawyers aren't involved, so, that put a lot of lawyers out of business or cut into their fee quite a bit and took away a lot of the numbers from the Chancery Court. So that's kind of probably where a lot of chancellors' numbers are down.
How is the time that you have to dispense among your 4 counties, who gets to pick that time? And the reason I'm asking this question, just as the follow-up to that, when you look at this one, Morgan County, of course, is by far the lowest everything. Do you have to give Morgan County equal time that you give Loudon County, or can you segregate your time? For instance, could you spend more time in Loudon County and less time in Morgan County? Is that your choice or your decision?
We already started doing that. Like Meigs County only gets 2 weeks every 3
Yeah,
days.
just look at the chart.
You're
and
looking at
see
color
if
coded
it's-
code.
And
That's what it's
so,
yellow.
yeah, we give more time to Loudon and Rome than we do Morgan and Meigs.
Well, population's kind of.
Right, I mean, and like, I start Meigs County term, tomorrow, and I only have the rest of this week, and then next week, and then I'm done with Meigs County. But we've already taken away time from Meigs County and from Morgan County, and added the Meigs County time to Loudon County, and the Morgan County to Rome County, because you just don't need that much, you have too much downtime. You didn't have anything to do. So there's no sense in sitting idle, you might as well. But then what you got to start worrying about is stepping on other judges' toes. When you come back, you can't stay too long in Rome County, because you've got a Pemberton coming in with his circuit court. And say in Morgan County, you've only got 1 courtroom, Meigs County, you only got 1 courtroom for 3 judges to use, so you can't be there at the same time. But this
So the
system.
bottom line is, there is nothing we as county commission can do other than just keep pouring more and more money in it, because the trend is scary, to say the
Well,
least.
if you wanna talk to the state about something, talk to them about this. I would say that most of your people who are in the jail waiting to go to trial or sentence or whatever, my guess is that 70% or more of those are related to drug addiction and mental health issues. So if you want the state to address something, get them to address facilities, treat those folks, and then maybe they can go out of the jail into those facilities. Which I think
You're running a mental health facility and a drug rehab facility out of your jail.
And
Although you don't have the programs, because you
We're
don't have
having
the
to
space.
medicate all of them too.
You don't have the space to run the programs in, which hopefully you will at the new jail.
We are the 4th week of October, y'all 3 are going to get an invitation for the TCSA Criminal Justice. This is exactly the conversation we need. We've sat down 3 times now, last time being in Nashville, over looking for some sort of solution, because I think everybody knows this is not exclusive to Loudon County. This is everywhere. We're represented from East Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, as well as West Tennessee. West Tennessee is a different ballgame, but for the most part, Middle and East Tennessee are on the same page. And when we were fixing to make a push for adding judges, just to see if we could help clear the docket up some. But I think sitting down, it's going to be East Tennessee DAs, judges, and so forth. And so I think it's a great conversation tonight. Just what we've had here. Rehash it again. I think it'll be either on the 29th or 30th. One of those dates I'll be happy to sit down. If y'all are available, I would love to have y'all come back. We're getting some push from across the state. I think we're getting some momentum. It's just a matter of we need to have a bullseye instead of a
I'm open for any suggestions that would help out.
Would it
We
be-
don't have-
would it be
we're
of
hunting
interest if we,
suggestions.
as
We're
County
looking.
Commissioners Association in general, at our next meeting, where our legislative committee got together and offered for us to lobby in support of moving this forward, at least a small step for your issue going on with your bonding.
Several commissioners sat on the Criminal Justice Commission.
So I think that might be.
I want to send somebody a harshly worded letter, that's what I want to do. I don't know who to send it to though, but somebody in the state of Tennessee, because what I'm hearing is this is just an impossible situation. Not your fault, well, I'm going to get back to you in a minute. Not necessarily his fault, not Steve's fault, it's the system we live in. We've got too many criminal people for whatever the reason, I don't care what the reason is. I've got family members that apparently like to spend time down at the Sheraton there, but whatever the reason is, when you look at these numbers right here, where our problem is right now, the reason we're spending $17.5 million of taxpayer dollars, we've got to house these people till they can be adjudicated. A lot of the things that you talked about from the bond and all that sort of stuff still doesn't get them adjudicated. Out of jail will help, but we know there's an awfully good likelihood if they're out today, in a week or two they're going to be right back. I mean, the recidivism is undeniable in these same people. I read the report every week who went to jail. If you could do a word search on a newspaper, you would find about 90% of them is the same people over and over and over. So
It says in the report, I mean, what the average,
I've not had a chance to look at that, and I want my other paperbacks that you borrowed from me too, because I want to read that while.
average number of priors, 8.19.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had domestics before where they pled that day, we put them on probation, we got them out of jail. They were back that night before I left the office.
Out of the 202 in population that day, if you look over here, 161 of them had been in jail before.
Now, and that's, look what we're spending. If you add our court systems into our jail and our sheriff's department,
I think this is an issue that the state of Tennessee has been aware of for well over 20 years. He's been working on it for that amount of time. I think every judge that we've ever had in Loudon County worked on it. Every governor we've had has put this at the forefront of their conversation. The solution isn't in this room today, unfortunately.
well, what do we do?
Can I?
Gotta be a solution.
Write a letter.
I want to write a harshly worded letter to somebody, and I want to use foul language in it.
How many state openings are there in the 200 open positions in the state of Tennessee, just with the state jobs, as far as election officers and all the state jails are full? I mean, if I was a state, if I didn't have to open, we'll get the jail business either.
I mean, this is not a new issue. I became a general sessions court judge in Loudon County in 2006. At that time, our jail held 86 people. And when it would get up to 120, they would come over to me and we would sit down and we'd go through and say, okay, can you let that one out? Can you let that one out? And I'd do an OR bond going, hang on, hope the hell nothing happens to while they're out with my name on the order. And then they built the new jail. They went from 86 up to 174. That was going to be that was going to take care of everything. Now they're running 340 in there.
Loudon County's numbers are unbelievable, but their general sessions is their problem. It's not criminal, it's general sessions
I
that
think
can't
a lot
get
of the
through.
problem is the fact that we shut down a lot of the facilities for the mentally ill over the last 8 years. We've had some of those issues. That's kicking back to the prisons, that's kicking back to the jails. There's really no programs whatsoever to graduate people out of drug addiction currently under the state of Tennessee. This is a state issue, a state conversation.
But we're having it starting right here tonight in Loudon County. Because we're gonna get these judges, we're gonna get these judges to send us a piece of paper saying, here's what you all need to do or could do to help our problem. That's what I'd like to hear from the DA and the judges. You all are on the front lines of it, we're not. That's why we asked you, we don't know. We see numbers, we don't know what these numbers mean. We don't have to translate opioids and all this. I mean, we just know we're spending a heck of a lot of money for a little bitty county for our imprisonment space up here, and the trend again is not good. It's up and up and up and up. We can't spend $17.5 million every 10 years up there to build another pod on the jail. Right, Russ?
That's right. What about?
Can I follow
Will you
up
send him a
on,
strongly worded letter?
Can I follow up on Julia's reference to mental health?
Right.
I mean, we had mental health places all over the state of Tennessee. We had one in Knoxville, had a big one in Nashville, and Memphis. I don't know how many of them, but the state closed these facilities down.
And the best we can do is
And
keep
you've
somebody
turned out
72
these
hours
people.
in Moccasin Bend or Peninsula.
You've turned these people out on the community. Okay, they wind up in the jail. Well, the jail don't know, they don't know how to deal with this, because they're not trained in that.
Unfortunately, with these mass shootings, at least that's bringing the mental health issues to the forefront, and the fact that, you know, we need treatment, we need long-term care facilities for them with real therapeutic treatment, maybe that, and this jail overcrowding mental health issue will come together.
The point is, the state is part of this problem, created part of this
Big
problem. And it's a
Well, you
big
have
part.
state
Look at the
legislators
figures up
and you need to
here.
talk to them.
One more thing, I can't let it go. It didn't come through on the copy real good, but on the little sheet on the back, you'll have to see a designation that in 2015, we added a second general sessions judge. But if you look at those numbers, they hadn't changed much. Just in a real quick reason, the whole idea was overbooking in general sessions. We added a second judge, but we still got that many or more in jail waiting to go to general sessions court.
You want me to explain that?
Shortly, briefly.
The first misconception you made when you made your introductory remarks about is our little bitty county. We don't live in a little bitty county.
It's relative. That's a relative term.
Well, let's not put misconceptions
Let's
out
Let's not
Yeah,
have
we're
our
not.
Let's be honest about it. We're not a little bitty county. And you live in a county where Interstate 75 runs through it, Interstate 40 runs through it, Highway 411 runs through it. All places where drugs are transported through this area. It only takes half a gram of methamphetamine to be a felony. You got more people being arrested, you got more people in the population, you got more people with mental health and drug issues that are coming to jail. Those numbers, you can add a third judge, they're not going to go down as long as your population grows.
And it's growing.
It hasn't changed that much in 4 years. I'm gonna break that. I'm not gonna argue that. We've had a good conversation. We sat here and debate these things, and we fought for 2 years over jails. We fought with the sheriff over budget for the last 6 months this time around. And all of everything we're having to fight about is driven by the number of people sitting in our jail waiting to go to court. Not convicted, but waiting to go to court or waiting to go to
Come down
prison.
Wednesday and we'll show you how many come.
I wouldn't come in for nothing. I might not get out. But for my part, I appreciate you coming. I've learned a lot. I'm not crazy about the outcome. But you all tell us, put together something to say, if y'all do this, it might help. Letter with the bad words is what I'm looking for.
To you, to you.
You
No.
get support from us too. You can have support.
You better believe you'd have 100% support. We can't afford this. The citizens of Loudon County can't afford this.
Do we have any more for Russell or Judge Wicks or Judge Sledge?
Thank y'all for coming, guys.
Hey, thank you. It's been an eye-opener. And Steve, thank you for helping us out. It has been an eye-opener.
Sorry, I didn't have any answers. Good try.
You did a good job.
Thank you. Hank, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna put it back on track. First up in general comments is Lynn Greer.
Well, there's another cookie in there.
Julia ate my cookie.
I ate three.
Put it on the record.
You couldn't stop
Oh, no.
talking until I was hungry.
Oh, no.
I had to get cookies.
Hi, how are you all? Hey buddy, this one's for you real quick because I asked Judge Sledge to stay for a second. The Public Records Committee, we need to set up a new meeting. It was approved in June. The meeting got canceled in July because one person couldn't make it. There's been no other meeting scheduled. You've got 5 people here that are on the commission. Ideas, suggestions, since you've got them all here, can you?
We're talking about as soon as this is over tonight, schedule a date.
So give me a date, I'll advertise.
So Monday, you're good. Well, you're the one who's supposed to set the date.
Well, if you get 5 people, different people's going, like, once they work it out the date they wanna go, they're I don't wanna do it again.
Mr. Tinker and I are talking about this, meeting's over, we'll figure it out.
Tinker's on top of it.
We already talked about it this evening.
Thank you, Judge Sledge.
You just want to circulate an email?
Do I?
You want to circulate an email?
Thanks, Judge.
Am I excused?
Yeah.
Thank you so
You
much.
can stay.
I appreciate it.
Stay.
What else is on the agenda?
Oh, it's long.
Thank you.
Next question, you're still up. The old courthouse. Who is the insurance policy through?
What do you mean?
I mean, it's covered by insurance.
Tennessee, Susan, what's the specific name? Tennessee Municipal, yeah. The specific,
Peek out the door, Susan. Are you asking?
yeah, the specific name for the insurance company. Tennessee
Old courthouse insurance.
Oh, Tennessee Risk Management.
Risk Management.
Thank
No, I can do the M, but I can get an R.
Okay. Have they agreed to pay to cover the courthouse yet with the tarp? You know,
Yeah, that's been agreed on.
then why aren't we doing it?
Well, it doesn't just happen magically.
Well, it's been
We
4
have-
months, buddy. Magic is out of the question
Look, don't
now.
yell at me. Don't you yell at me now.
You started with the snark. So, it's been 4 months.
Yeah,
I'm waiting.
for what?
When you gonna put a tarp on it?
As soon as the insurance, the engineers, and everybody else says we can. We've had meetings, we've been, we're gonna put a temporary roof on it, which is what we discussed not long ago.
What now?
Susan
We're gonna
has
put a
enough.
temporary roof, the insurance company has said not to put a tarp on it, because there's too big of a hole, and you try to
And
tarp it.
it'll funnel
And
it
it's
down
gonna
in.
hold away, and he said it's gonna do more damage and pull the roof in, so.
Temporary roof's going on at that point in time, after we get the temporary roof on.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed the first part of your.
After we get our temporary roof on, at that point in time, we have to dry it out.
Right.
That's anywhere 60, 90 days, more or less, but we have to seal it up, dry it out, because right now, the black mold, you're not even supposed to go in it without a respirator. And I'm not talking a mask or a thing, I'm talking a full-blown respirator. So once we get that there,
Okay.
then we come in and stabilize. We come in, we clean it, we take everything out, and we go from there. If we get the stabilization process done, the cleanup process done, we start our refurbishing.
Okay, and just a second, I'm.
Yes, ma'am.
Just
I
one
got,
minute.
I got a question to follow up on yours.
And that's fine, just hang on for a second, don't forget it.
I
So, so you had told me the week after the courthouse burned that we're gonna have engineers, and we're gonna have engineers, and we're gonna have engineers. Where's the holdup on getting the engineers here?
We've had at least 2 sets of engineers here. You're talking about 2 different processes altogether. You're talking about, first of all, stabilization. First thing we did for the first, ever how many weeks, was get what we had to get out of there. There's 2 different processes involved. One is the stabilization of the existing courthouse that's there as damaged. We get that taken care of. Once we get it done, that sets up the place, sets us up for a starting point for us to finish and refurbish and reconstruct.
Understood, but there's no cover on it, is my point. When will we have a cover on that
As
courthouse?
soon as they get to it, we've approved it, it's been approved, the engineering company, the stabilization company has approved it. As soon as they get the plan together, the drawings together to do it, it's going up.
Do we
I'm
have?
doing as bad as anybody does.
They are working on a timeline for the mayor at this point,
Okay,
so.
all right, that was the next
there's
question.
Who is that?
a timeline to be
Because there's a
presented to the
construction.
The stabilization company, right?
Pardon?
The stabilization company's coming up with the timeline for
The
the mayor.
architects, engineers, all the people have been hired that needs to be done to stabilize the project. They're working on a timeline so that the mayor will have that, to be able to release to the public. But that team of engineers and architects and construction workers are developing a timeline at this time as we speak.
And do we have a bullseye or, a
Once they get
ballpark?
their report, it'll be given to the mayor.
It's just not, we can't just walk out there and throw a roof up on this. It's it's gotta have a plan to it.
I
We'll end up
understand
knocking the
that,
whole thing
I
down.
understand that, buddy, but you understand it's been 4 months.
Yeah,
and
I
it's just
understand
getting
it's
worse
been
and
4
worse
months.
and worse, and black mold.
And nobody wants it worse than I do. But to sit up here and second guess my team of people that have busted their rear ends to get this done is ridiculous.
If you
We're
don't want me to
going
talk to
after
you
it.
like that, don't talk to me like that.
I'm just stating a fact. This team, the
Okay,
people in this
well,
building
the
have
thing is,
busted their
buddy, we
rear
would
ends.
know if you would tell us, but I'm up here having to ask you because we don't know.
I just told you.
But it's not on the agenda. I mean, you're sitting there acting like you are.
And as soon as we get this timeline that the refurbishing company's working on,
Uh-huh.
I'm having a public meeting, and then I'll listen to anybody, any suggestions, any ideas,
That's
anybody
right,
plans,
and we've all
whatever.
been wondering, and I asked the question, and now we have the answer.
And that's my entire plan is to have that. I understand y'all's frustrated, I'm as frustrated as anybody.
Okay, Adam?
I read the paper the other day where you were concerned about some costs associated with this old courthouse. Ms. Huston?
Oh.
Yes. That's what the paper said the other day.
There
Do we have
was-
anything from our insurance company that says they're gonna cover this 100%? Is there any letter
We've
from?
had conversation with them, that newspaper article is misstated, incorrect, and misstated.
We have not seen anything from any insurer that says that courthouse is gonna be covered 100%, and that scares me a little.
They will bring our courthouse, they have told us, when we've all sat here at this table right here, they will bring our courthouse back to where it was the day it caught fire.
Is that written down?
Is that in writing anywhere signed by some of the?
People sitting here saying stuff is meaningless. Somebody needs to put a document on the table that says the insurance company is gonna put your courthouse back exactly like it was. I don't doubt you. I don't doubt anybody. But unless it's written on a piece of paper with somebody's signature on it, it might as well be on the side of that barn over there. It doesn't mean anything. I've heard this for the 4 months. They're gonna cover, they're gonna cover. Gonna put it back with Matthew sprinklers, it might be this, might. I haven't seen a document yet that says they'll do anything. Because the first thing we actually heard, and I did see a document on, was we had a maximum of $2 million. That was the first document in my folder.
And they, within 2 days, they were here, and they told us right then and there, Susan, correct me if I'm wrong.
They told us that we had a blanket coverage of $300 million.
Well,
Can you get
Get a
that,
piece
can
of
you get that
paper.
in writing to sign for us this week? Can you get that in writing for us?
I'll certainly see what I can do.
Because it scares me, it really does, that we have nothing in writing saying they're gonna cover this, and
And Susan, it did take some time too, they had to hire a construction,
There
they
are,
had to have a construction,
the first process was that someone went into the courthouse and did an inventory of all the parts and pieces, down to the reams of paper, the surge protectors, everything, chairs, curtains, blinds, the whole printers, computers. They did a list of that. There was 800 and something items that was presented back to us with a cost, an estimated cost, an estimated replacement cost. That list had to be verified that everything was there. Any items that were missing had to be added. That took a number of weeks to complete that process. In the meantime, the structural engineer was reviewing the structure to see if it was salvageable or if it's going to have to be torn down and rebuilt. That was a month after the fire happened before I ever got that report back. Once I got, there was no need in me hiring a demolition crew for the restoration or an architect until we had a decision from the engineering firm on whether or not it was rebuildable or if we were going to have to tear it down. So at that point, then we went to work on, we have an architect and engineering firm hired. We have a construction manager who will handle the removal of all the wet materials. You have to have an environmental assessment of all the hazardous materials, from fluorescent light bulbs to batteries and everything else that's in there. So all those contracts have been signed within the last month. Some of them was signed today. So the environmental assessment engineers will go in there and do an assessment for any hazardous materials, and then that will have to be abated before you can put a roof on it. So a temporary roof will be put on until the design team, when you're doing a public building over $25,000, you have to have an architect to design even the roof part of it. So all of that takes time. It's not something that.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I understand all that. It's a complex operation. All I want to see is a document, I want to see a document from the insurance company that says they're going to cover this. That's all.
There are things
Susan's
that we
just
have
following
purchased.
through the hoops so everybody
I
knows.
understand the hoop. I want a document.
There are things that we have had to purchase either for temporary operations or that will be a permanent replacement. And if they said that that chair was valued at $150 and it costed me $250 to replace it, They've upped the ante to make up the difference for everything that I've had to purchase. That is more than what they estimated. They have increased their quote.
Have they reimbursed us for those expenses yet?
They have reimbursed us some.
They cut, what was the first check they cut us?
They sent us $250,000
Just to
the
get
first
started.
week, and then they sent us another $1,000,000, or was it 750, Tracy?
Well, maybe they'll send us a letter saying they'll cover the whole thing.
Didn't they send
If
a
you,
statement?
we'll be happy to reach out to them and ask them to give us something, confirmation.
That's what we need. I want to not. Yeah.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan.
Can I point out that Miss Brewster would maybe tell us why she has to stand up? She's not hunting the
She
team.
hurt her back.
She's in bad shape in her back, so.
Her safe and everybody else ain't supporting. There you go.
Becky Richardson,
So I apologize for getting up and down
We thought you were Pentecostal.
be nice.
Mayor and Commissioners, I'm Becky Richardson. My husband David and I farm in the Luttrell area. We have 3 sons in our farming operation, and we farm corn, soybeans, and wheat, and that's a little background about myself for those of you that don't know me. However, I'm here to speak to you tonight about the Luttrell School gym, community center, just a little history about it, so that when you start discussing it, you've got maybe a little background as to where we're coming from. In 1920, construction began on that building for as much information as we can put together. In 1921, the first group of children attended Luttrell School. And then in 1942, part of the facility burned and it moved to the gymnasium. So all classes were held in the gymnasium. Moving on forward to 1968, the building remained vacant from that point until 1983. In 1968, all students were sent either to Philadelphia School or to Sweetwater School. In 1983, the Holston Conference, United Methodist Conference, Vendors United Methodist Church was given the property to use. It was deeded over to them to use until they could no longer take care of it. Basically, it was a 100-year deed, and the county signed it over at that point, and the church could use it as they saw fit as long as they took care of it. The church took care of it until the summer of 2005. In 2005, the Holston Conference reverted it back to the county, and that's where we really need to start. The church ceased to exist as a United Methodist Church. At that point, the community met, and in that meeting, they formed a committee. Lloyd Bledsoe was chair at that point and guided us on this, and that committee is still in existence. I am representing that committee as the chair. Tonight, I'd like to share with you also some things that have been done since that time. In 2006, after the committee took over, we began making plans for fire and rescue to be added to the location, and it has since had a fire and rescue hall to be built. In 2007, quite a bit of improvements were made, most of those by the committee and volunteers in the county, in the community there. 2017, we had water hookup with Wattsbar Utilities Board. And then in March of 2018, we were contacted by someone who rented the facility, and that's how we get our income. We've paid through rentals, through fundraisers, lots of donations, and lots of donated time from people in the community. In 2018, we realized the far wall was off of the foundation. So there's been numerous people to come and look at that. I think Buddy's even had an engineer to come and meet. Gary has been out numerous times. We've had the maintenance department out several times, and David Mears has even been out as well. So we've had several different discussions, several different opportunities to toss around ideas. Since 2018, or from 2005 to the present, some of the things that the committee has been responsible for doing, just so you've got more background, They built a covered picnic shed with picnic tables. We've replaced windows in the facility and paint. Repaired rotting bleachers from roof water damage that happened before we got it, while the church had it. We put that back together. We've been responsible for paying the gas, electric, mowing, and water bill since '05. The county's not had any input in that. Constructed a handicap ramp, taking care of the ball field, which is just a large area beside the facility that used to be a ball field. It's had several different sinkholes in it that we've taken care of getting filled, and then removing the backstop because it was not safe for people to be around. Hired an exterminator that comes once a year, I believe, once every 6 months. Repaired bathroom floors, plumbing, and walls. A lot of that had to be replaced. We've added guttering, repaired the sign, purchased refrigerators, repaired the playground. Concrete has been added for improved drainage to keep the facility dry underneath the foundation. I've already mentioned the sinkholes, and we purchased gravel for parking. I say all this just to let you know a little background about where we've been, and let y'all know that it's been well taken care of since 2005. In 1983, when the church first purchased it, they took out a loan because the building had fallen in disrepair from 1968 till 1983. They took out a loan, a personal loan. My father-in-law, Darius Richardson, was one of those people to help repair that facility and improve it so that it continued to be used as a voting precinct. It has been used as a voting precinct since, I feel confident, 1968, and probably many years prior to that. There may have been a time or two during that time when it was in such disrepair and didn't have bathrooms that they weren't able to have the voting precinct there. But all of the years that I can count for through 68, I think there's been a voting precinct there. So I'm just asking y'all to make wise decisions as you move forward on this issue, and I look forward to what you decide to help make happen. But just to let you know, our community sure would like to keep our voting precinct where it is.
Mr. Mayor, please don't get the big head. This lady is a community icon with what she's done in Fender's community and the family. And Becky, I think what we talked 3, 4, 5 times over the phone, and I appreciate it every time more than what you've done. And I'd like to make a request to see if there's a possibility of contacting East Tennessee Community Design Center to see if they may help us. I think Clayton Angle, where he is on the board currently, but see if they may be able to help come up with some ideal suggestions, other ways of helping this community, because this community thrives on that center. And I think they're entitled as any other community in the county. And once again, I thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I think that we do need to pay strong support for this and try to help you as much as we possibly can. But thank you once again, Bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pandora Villa.
If you would draft a letter to them,
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Mayor, Director Blair. The earlier conversation with all our judges, I just might make a simple recommendation. There was a very popular television show 100 years ago called Night Court. Remember that? And the guy liked working at night. Now, not everybody likes night work, but it sounds like if we can't hire a regular employee as a judge, maybe we could chip in with some surrounding counties that have a heavy load like we have, people stacked up in jail, and maybe we could hire them as an independent contractor. That way we avoid having an employee. We split the costs with the other people that have a vested interest in that, and we get the guy to operate at night. And then if you run into problems on your own staff, maybe one staff should have in their job description that part of their job is to work the night shift, and they will be given compensation time off their schedule if they have to work the night shift. So that's just, I wasn't planning on saying that, but after listening to all that, that's the only thing that came into my mind as a potential solution. So, Mayor Buddy, I think you run a great shop, and I think I really see a lot of heart when it comes to your employees. You've got some great employees. One of them was right next to you, Director Blair. And I see on our agenda that, of course, we got a great clean audit, and it's something to be celebrated. Consecutive, that's also a good word. However, it should also be our expected outcome. We should always strive for and achieve a clean audit. Not everybody else can hit that hurdle, but really that should be business as usual, clean audit.
Ms. Blair does that.
Ms. Blair does a great job. The staff has performed their job well, and everybody, however, has not taken on like a special extra super duper job that would really entitle them to have an entire day off. And certainly every employee hasn't done that. Some I'm sure have. But I'm just going to make a suggestion. It would be extremely expensive time-wise to let all of your vast employees take a day off. You're talking the sheriff's department. You're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Some of them actually having very little to do with that clean audit. But I'll tell you what they might enjoy. They might enjoy a certificate for a free turkey for Thanksgiving, and a thank you note from you. I did a tremendously big project for my company, and they gave me a little cash bonus, but the thing I valued most was the thank you note I got from my employer. And another way that you guys have the power to thank people is through a resolution. And it would be nice if you could maybe, if you don't like the turkey idea, I had another idea, maybe Buddy, Mayor, you could go to each department and bring with you coffee and donuts, and you could thank them personally for their contribution. That's also very powerful. And so that would be something that I would do in lieu of a day off. A day off is a very, almost overly generous offer to your employees. But they do deserve a kind word from you and maybe some coffee and donuts. Let me see. I do like the resolution idea, because that's something they can have in writing from you, listing their name as one of the employees who deserves that. I also want to just say just a little blurb. I know I've spoken with you, and I've spoken with my representative, Commissioner Cullen, with regard to the courthouse, the new courthouse building. And I can't impress enough upon you. My husband says I like to beat the dead horse into a second and third death. But we can't put a huge multi-million-dollar improvement on land we don't own. Okay? That just defies any sort of logic. If the people in Loudon can't see their way clear to selling it to us for, a fair market value, or giving it to us in lieu of all the business it'll generate, we literally have to walk to another piece of property, because we can never outlay that kind of money. And when you think about the Panama Canal, look at what we did to build the Panama Canal, and that time was over like that. So the time does gallop by you, and I just want to again request, please don't consider building a multi-million-dollar structure and improvement on property we don't own. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, Pandora.
Thank you, Pandora. Thank you, Pandora.
Thank you,
Lawrence
Pandora.
Wooden, come on. Larry is the owner of Little Italy in Calico Village, a restaurant. And in my opinion, they were treated unfairly by the beer board. Larry?
Hi, my name's Lawrence Wood, and I won't take up most of your time because just about everything I needed to say I sent to and I put in a letter that went to the Honorable Mayor that is now in all your packets. So I basically just wanted to introduce myself. My wife and I both, we moved here about 26 years ago in Loudon County. I'm retired 12-year Army vet and a 43-year airline pilot, and we invested most of our retirement savings, what the union didn't take from us, into restaurants. And now, one of our restaurants, we tried to get a beer permit and it was denied. And I understand the rules, but I think it was unjustly denied, and it's threatening our viability to exist. And the reasons that we were denied just don't make economic sense to us or to the county. And I just wanted to say that you might not think just a beer permit's gonna make that big a difference, but when every restaurant in Tellico Village and the surrounding community have the ability to sell alcohol and beer, except myself, it puts a very undue, I mean, we cannot compete. We just cannot compete with that, and we're threatening with being shut down, which is gonna harm my family. It's going to harm my employees. We have almost 52 full-time and part-time employees. It's going to harm my landlady, Ms. Donna Akey, sitting here, who's helped the county many times because, you know, we would lose a lease. And it's going to hurt my community, which we have a lot of our folks here because they, a lot of them like to come there all the time and have always, and they keep asking me, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? And I do not want to impose on my customers. But it's getting to a point that if we don't get this, we may not exist. And I just can't see going out of business and losing all of the savings and putting these people on the street for something that I think is a very unjust reason. And that's what I want you to address as a county board. And I do appreciate you all and appreciate your time. Yes, sir.
Larry, living in the village, I want you to know something. When I first got elected 4 years ago, the school was looking for $2.1 million of a 20-cent tax increase. I got hammered. This past spring, March, through the budget process, the sheriff was looking for a $3.1 million year-over-year increase. 22 pennies on the tax rate, 12% total. I really got slammed. But nowhere near as hard as I've got slammed about your restaurant to get something done. You have outdone them all. And I've got to tell everybody in this room, they are the most respected couple in the village, and everywhere I go, can you help them out? And I want you to know we researched, Donna Akey did. Is she in the back? There she is. I've known her for 17 years. I researched, she went through and got it. I put it all together. I scanned it this afternoon and went off to Bob Bowman, the county attorney. And beyond a reasonable doubt, there was a beer permit issued when the library was built, after it was built. So hopefully, we can get this resolved without a big blow. Thank you, Larry.
Well, I appreciate all you.
I have had the opportunity, I've got to know this gentleman and his wife, and they do run a very first-class operation, talking with them about the economic factors and things. That's all I can say about it.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
It'll be later on in the agenda.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
It's here now. You want to deal with it now? Because we're going to be here a long time. These folks want to sit here all night. You want to
Deal with it now.
All right, what I want to do is just give a little background, a little history on the whole beer board situation. Nobody's been picked on. In the 90s, it got to be commonplace that nearly monthly, bi-monthly, every 3 months, there was a fight at the Loudon County Beer Board meeting because someone had requested a beer permit, and the beer board, under the regulations, to be honest with you, they weren't real sure what the rules were. But you had communities would turn out in opposition to whatever it would have been. It may have been restaurants, it may have been just off-premise sales, whatever it was, the people throughout the county were opposed. We had one not long ago, I think it was either in yours or Kelly, your all's District 4, or one where they were wanting to have the rodeo, if you'll remember. We had all those people show up. That was the first controversial one I'd seen, I guess, in nearly 20 years. But anyhow, in the late 90s, it had gotten to be just an enormous problem all over the county. So working with other county commissioners, with citizens groups, with the county mayor at the time, with the county attorney at the time, they sat down and said, okay, we've got to get our beer regulations straightened out. So what was looked at was, what can the locals do about beer regulations? The state allows the local jurisdiction, whether it's a county, city, whoever it is, there's two kind of optional things you can do. You can pick a buffer zone between churches, schools, daycares, and other places of public gathering. We can adopt the 300-foot rule from a residential dwelling, providing the resident shows up to the meeting and objects to the issuance of the beer permit. That was the two local issues that this body could do. Commissioner Duff was the only one that was here in 2000. So in April 2000, the county commission passed the current beer board regulations. And those regulations, by state allowed ability, include the 2,000-foot rule and the 300-foot rule. Now there's a lot of other little rules in there too, background checks and this, that, and the other, but that was the two things that the locals had the ability to do. The thinking, and I was there, I was at the meetings and attended all of them, and the thinking was the reason to take the maximum 2,000 foot was we're in the county, we're in a rural area, so you have less police protection. The cities, you'll find, usually have a smaller buffer zone. The county has the greater buffer zone. So the 2,000-foot rule and the 300-foot rule have been in place since April of 2000. That's about 2 decades it's been in place, and it's worked really, really well. In the case of your restaurant over there, there have been other restaurants that locate in that same place. When an application is made, it's the applicant's responsibility to turn in a survey with the application as to whether to show church, school, daycare, or place of public gathering. I don't know the answer to this one. It doesn't matter, because I'll finish that part up too. If an applicant didn't put a place of public gathering on there, then the beer board would have never known it was there. So right now, what he's up against, he's in the location of the Telco Plaza. Is that the shopping center?
Lakeside Plaza.
Lakeside Plaza. And then down Irene Lane, 1,400 and something feet, is the Telco Village Library. Under the law, the distance from the buffer zone is measured in a straight line from the nearest point of the facility that sells alcohol or is applied to sell alcohol to the nearest point of the church, school, daycare, or other place of public gathering. Like I said, in the past, I don't know if other applicants for this same location have put down that the library was there. Also in the past, I don't know that the former beer board attorney, his name was Jim Simpson, Mr. Snodgrass knows him well, I don't know that Jim would have ever interpreted the library as a place of public gathering. I have no idea. But Mr. Simpson passed away here some months ago. So the beer board now has a new beer board attorney. I don't even know his name, but he's out of Bob Bowman's office.
Bob is gonna go talk to.
Okay, so this, I just happened to go to this meeting. I usually, because I've always been involved in this, I just usually go to beer board meetings. I just like to see what happens. I just happened to go to this one, and the new beer board attorney said, okay, you're within 2,000 feet of the public library. And in his opinion, the public library is a place of public gathering. Now, I don't know if that's correct or not. The definition of a place of public gathering can be vague and broad, and since I was all involved in this, there was a certain amount of case laws, and this case here, yes, it was determined it was a place, and the next one, no, it was not. And there's a pretty laid out, and the attorney, in all fairness, gave a pretty good description of why he felt this was a place of public gathering. The mayor can't do anything with this. He couldn't change it if he wanted to. The county commission, we could change the buffer zone to 1 foot below what your distance is, but is that fair to the rest of the county who likes the protections of it? Because it has to be applied equally to everybody all the time. If you ever do it arbitrarily, then you're just dead in the water. You can't inflict it on anybody. So the actual remedy, it's a really simple remedy in the TCA. Anybody that's aggrieved by the decision of the beer board, whether it's denial of a permit, whether it's revocation of a permit, or whatever they do, or if somebody gets a permit and somebody wants to challenge that permit, is a writ of certiorari in Chancery Court, which is not an expensive process. Now, I don't know what the outcome will be, and Henry sent the information to Bob Bowman, and like I said at the meeting, and I was surprised when the library became a place of public gathering, because from the world I came from, that wasn't really what it did, but he quoted a case law exactly in the meeting that night about a library. So I'm hoping that, like Henry says, Bob can have a conversation with him and make the determination of whether or not it is a place of public gathering, because that's what it all comes down to. But in the event that Bob, that doesn't change, that the attorney, they don't research and decide to change it, then we're still at the same place. I would strongly oppose changing our regulation because it has worked really, really well and kept the majority of the citizens happy about it. But there is a simple solution, and if you go before Chancellor Williams with your argument, I think the Chancellor would, I shouldn't say that because I've seen him do some odd things, but there's a great likelihood the Chancellor could say, well, no, this doesn't qualify as a place of public gathering, therefore remand back to the beer board, issue the beer permit. But just changing the law, because next month somebody might come in and be 1,398 feet, then we got to change it again and so on and so forth. But there are remedies there. I just wanted to say this so everybody know where it got to. Nobody singled out this place or picking on you. Yes, permits were issued in the past, but like I said, it could, maybe the beer board didn't know the library was there. Maybe Jim Simpson didn't interpret the library as, so there's reasons for it. Nobody's being picked on. It's not being arbitrarily presented on you different than anybody else.
That building has been there for 25 years. It's had a beer permit ever since it was built. The library that was there before the new building was built was 30 feet away.
I can't disagree with you.
I know, I'm just saying, and now it's a playhouse, which is just more to me of a public meeting place than this little library that had 3 or 4 people at a time, which is not even open when I'm in business. But yet 2 other places across the street from me have both gotten permits next to this theater. I call that, discrimination. I don't see how they can have permits and be in business, and I'm put out of business. This library is getting ready to have a fundraiser where they're selling beer.
They can't sell beer without a permit.
They got
you
a
just
day
ratted
permit.
them
They
out.
got a day permit. They sell beer.
They didn't get a permit.
They do. Every October.
Wine, not beer, baby. Wine. They can't sell beer without a permit. Nobody in Loudon County
It's an
can.
October beer fest, and that usually that word beer means beer.
I understand.
They get a day permit, I understand.
They've never gotten one. I go to all the hearings. I've never heard of
They
it.
do it every year.
But hopefully this gets resolved. I'm hoping it gets resolved with Bob speaking to the attorney. You were there, you heard what the attorney said.
And I know they measure it a straight line, but you're across no man's land with 2 barbed wire fence and the law. I mean, the 2,000-foot rule is to protect children. And yet in the city, you have 300 feet where they can build a biker bar across the street from the high school. But I'm at, county, 2,000 feet out in a where seniors live.
As I said, that was because you have the thinking was better police protection in the city than you got in the rural parts of the county.
We're not gonna harm any children or anybody. It's the only ones that's gonna get harmed is me and my employees and my landlady and the community that I service.
Well, like I said, I just wanted to give everybody the background because I think somebody thought maybe this was an arbitrary thing, and it's not. The little fella out in Melton Hill that's got the little bait shop came in, and he said, no, I'm clear, there's no church, there's a closed church. We'll come find out it was a Russian Orthodox church, very much in business. I've never seen such a church as this. It's a beautiful thing. It's got the spirals and all that. But he was denied his permit, and of course he was within like 700 feet, and his question, well, can't you just change it for me? I said, no, you can't. It has to stay the same to everybody all the time. Again, I'm just sharing the information and background so everybody will know. I hope it gets resolved, but if it doesn't, there is a very simple outlet, a place to appeal the decision of the beer board, and could probably, since the beer board meeting, probably have already been addressed had it gone there.
I'm not asking for the law to be changed. I understand the law, I respect the law. But I am saying that a precedent has been set and I'm being discriminated against. And that's my whole basis, is that everybody there that's close to that library, and there was a library, everybody has been issued a permit except me. And it's threatening my viability to stay in business.
Are you the first person to ask for a beer permit?
No.
Hang on. Are you the first person to ask for a beer permit under the new attorney at the beer board?
Yes.
Probably.
Okay.
And I have a
So we've
member
had a change
here.
of leadership with a change of ideals and a change of interpretation of the law, and you just so happen to be the first one to be the recipient
Right.
of that change.
I have one here in the audience who's a member of the beer permit. He says in
That's-
21 years, this is the first time that a public gathering place
I
has
understand,
come up.
I get that. I just wanna make sure that I understand that you're the first person under the new leadership, because unfortunately, the law is up for interpretation according to the judges and the people who talk about it, so you've got new leadership with a new interpretation.
Larry didn't, when Doug had his place, at Doug's place, he was able to sell beer. Okay, there's a Thai place there now that is in business, they're able to do the same. Now you go over to the Mexican restaurant, they've been doing that for a number of years. And what about the district on those locations in comparison to yours?
That's a good point.
Well, they're all
They're
under
2,000 feet out.
1,000 foot each from me, and which right there is the community
Yeah.
playhouse.
And Mr. Chairman, I think the one issue too that I have been trying to address with some people that have called me is that the library being a public gathering place, and they've had wine tasting parties at the library.
They hosted the board and girls
And
club.
so that does not seem very,
And we appreciated this, I was chairman of the Boys and Girls Club, we had two wine tasting activities there at that time, at the library.
at the library.
Wine is administered by the Tennessee ABC, beer is done by the county, so I mean, there is.
That's just the way it is.
There is a difference there.
Alcoholic beverages or liquor, beer, 5% alcohol, less is regulated by the locals.
I really don't know if it makes a difference, but it's not even part of the Loudon County Library system. It was a private enterprise, Friends of Telego Village Library, Inc. It's governed by a board of directors, and,
Yeah.
and,
Library.
you know, a library, they want to say it's a library, but really, you
Well,
take.
I hope it gets resolved. Like I said, I hope when Bowman speaks with his associate, who is now the beer board attorney, I hope they can come to some kind of terms with it, but if they can't, there is a simple solution to it. So I don't want to see you get hurt.
Well, I just wanted to bring your attention that, you know, we're the only one, and it's gonna hurt our ability to remain a business. And if there's something you can do to where we don't have to go to a legal step, you know, we would appreciate it. That's just kind of where we're at
Well, I
right
think
now.
it's being done, right, Henry?
Yes, and Larry, I'm gonna stay on top of it, because here's what's at stake for me. All my friends in District 7 and my neighbors, if I don't get it done for you, I'll burn at the stake in front of Mama Grace. That's his other response.
This is such a reversal. Most of the time, you have the crowd that shows up at the beer board meeting with pitchforks and stakes. It's rare you have the crowd come this direction. It's a reversal is what it is.
Yep.
Well, I've had several hundred people tell me, well, they'll be glad to show up September 3rd for the vote on it too. So, you know, I mean,
We
we
can't
have a
do
lot
it.
of support.
It's not us.
The
It's
beer
not the
board,
county commission, that's the beer board.
once the beer board was established in the 70s, they took full authority. The mayor, us, we can't change the beer board's position. Now, we can dissolve the beer board and we can take this over every month to hear beer permits, but I got a feeling this body doesn't want to do that.
The only other remedy would be to change the distance.
That's
And that can be done by the legislative body.
That's right.
I'd just like to get this done and say, hey, they were mistreated.
I don't think they were mistreated. I think that there's a new interpretation with a new leadership in place, and Bob Bowman has the opportunity to correct that discussion and make it to fit this situation. I think we've just got somebody new in place at the moment that's new, and they're not familiar with him. They're probably not familiar with what's going on. We need to give them an opportunity to have a discussion with Bob Bowman and resolve it that way.
I'm hoping it gets done this way.
Yeah.
If you look at the most recent court cases, Youngblood versus Loudon County Beer Board, I think this would possibly be something that you're referring to.
How long were you given to, how long was the Bob Bowman conversation?
Henry just spoke to him.
I picked up, Donna Akey went to Carrie McKelvey, got the background. And I've got the permits going back, with the exception of a couple that are frozen in the records from the courthouse. But I have them after the library was built on